Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining me. My name is Rebecca, and I wanted to create a video today and this is my friend Silver here to join us as well. So this video is to help give a little pick-me-up throughout the day, give our body a little bit of movement, a little connection with the breath, and just reconnect with a better posture to help from, being slumped over desk, books, screens, office job work. And if that is something that you are looking for, you are in the right place. We're going to do some gentle movement, a little breath work. We're going to move our bodies in a way that feels really good, refreshing, pick us up from that midday slump. And overall, none of these suggestions should take too much time or are anything that you have to be at home to do. Could do them pretty much anywhere that you have a little bit of space. Definitely don't need a specific mat as long as you have a comfortable area to just get down and moving. For full disclosure, I am not currently a certified yoga instructor, but I am a dedicated practitioner, and these are tips and ideas that have helped me in my own yoga practice. And I have also referenced guides from Yoga Journal's website, and you can find links to that wonderful resource in the description box below this video. And another suggestion is that you definitely really listen to your body. Like I said, what we are doing today is going to be very gentle, but if you have not moved in this way before or in a while, I definitely want to encourage you to not try to do everything that I do specifically if it feels like it is going too far for you. We are all different in our bodies, even day to day, and we definitely want to respect that. So with all of that being said, thank you again for joining me. I am Rebecca, and welcome to your practice. So we're going to start today in Tadasana, mountain pose, and there is a reason for the weird shirt tuck here. I think this is a good pose for me to kind of talk about a couple points of awareness for our posture throughout the day, and checking in with that, from time to time can really help us to correct that and, help with the soreness and the weakness that can come from just going throughout our day with really poor posture. So I'm going to turn to the side. Maybe it'll make a little bit more sense. I want you to be able to see the direction that my hips are going. So the natural curvature of our spines is sort of like an S shape. So the upper thoracic spine, it curves kind of backward, whereas the lower lumbar spine curves forward. And it seems that over time, especially in the upper spine, these bends become overemphasized from like sitting, for instance, just really leaning into that. And so we end up with this result of this kind of, slumpy, dumpy posture going on here. And so we want to counterbalance both of those and almost in a push-pull direction. So I'll start with the lower body. So we have a lot of times the tail will kind of curve up. Welcome my friend Silver here, one of my buddies. So the tail will curve up kind of toward the ceiling. And what we want to think of is just taking our glutes and just kind of pushing them more down toward the floor. Or you could think of the hip points. So if we are in this, deepened curve here, we think that the point of the pelvis is kind of pointing down toward the floor. And so if we just tuck a little bit, then that is going to raise it up to a little bit more parallel. And so a little bit of glute engagement, a little bit of engagement in the low belly will really help to strengthen these muscles to really protect the low back area from fatigue throughout the day. So moving up to the upper body, so we are bent forward in this position with our chest just kind of closed off. So what we want to do is we want to open up our chest and away, my other friend, Tapioca. And so a way that we want to do that, I like to think of overemphasizing this move to really kind of make it sink in. And so what we want to do is we want to think about moving our shoulders. And so we want to think moving forward, upward, and back. And so by doing that, and maybe just a few times to really get into that motion, we are opening our chest, we're shining it forward. I call this like a proud chest. And then we move our shoulder blades up, back, down the spine, and close together. And it is a little bit overemphasizing it, but thinking of pinching something between the shoulder blades when they are down. So if we have this slight tuck here, we have this opening here. And so from this slumpy posture, then we tuck, we straighten, and now we have this straight alignment, because what we really want is almost like a straight line from the crown all the way down to the floor. And that's really going to help, we'll strengthen these muscles here to keep us straight and strong throughout the day, protect us from the fatigue and the overemphasis of this position when we face forward, which can cause a lot of soreness throughout the day. So I said we're in mountain pose. Let me give you a little idea of what mountain pose is, and we'll take a few breaths here. So mountain pose, we always want to think we start from the ground up, our root, we're rooting down into the ground. The foot position, there's a couple options for you. If you are new to this practice, I would definitely suggest thinking of where your feet fall, hip width, or if you were walking forward, about how far between the space your feet are with each step. And so you want to just kind of stand there in that natural state. If you do have pretty good balance, or you have been practicing a while, I typically will stand with my feet together, maybe a slight distance between my heels, but it is completely up to you. Just might be a little bit more stable, starting about hip width distance apart, and feet just face straight ahead. Now with this, we really want to get a really good base, and by doing that, or to do that, we want to ground down with, let's just imagine that our feet have 4 corners, and we want each of those corners to be planted into the ground. And a way to kind of feel that out is to do a little bit of maybe swaying motion, so you can feel like what each bit of your foot on the ground feels like first. We could do side to side, we could go a little forward, a little back, maybe raise our toes up and then just plant them down individually, and just really think 4 corners all touching the floor. And we don't need to strain our foot or anything of that nature, just a gentle touching down to give us some nice stability here. So once our feet are planted, we want to think about our knees. We definitely don't want to lock out our knees and work on like super duper straight legs. We definitely don't want that. You want to think not so much a bend in the knees, but just a gentle easiness in the knees. And then as I mentioned before, we want to think like not too overly bent in the low back. We want to do, that slight tuck of the hips. Make sure that we are slightly engaged in the low belly, just to hold us up in proper posture through this pose. Same thing with the chest. We want to think shoulders up and back and down the back, so we are open, proud chest shining forward. Shoulders are dropped down away from our ears, so there's lots of nice space here. With our arms, we want to open our hands so that our palms face forward. And then with our head, we just want a nice neutral chin, maybe a slight dip down, but just a nice gentle posture. A lot of moving parts that maybe you wouldn't think exist in just standing still, but really, if you get into it, in every pose really in yoga, there is so much to focus on, so much change and improvement we can make over time. All right, so now we think about our proper alignment, and so let's just connect to our breath, which is so important again in yoga, but also in daily life, just to stop and check in with our breath, see how we're doing, reconnect with the body, get out of the head and just really be with ourselves, present in the moment. All right, so what I'll suggest we do is breathe in through the nose, a nice deep belly breath, not chesty breath here. We want to think about expanding the belly as if it were the first place that the air is entering, to almost feel this outward inflation when we take in the breath. So we will inhale through the nose, and then we can open mouth, let it out, make a little noise as if you're trying to fog up a mirror. Okay? So let's give that a try. You can see I'm doing a little swaying here, just feels right in the moment. It feels right to you to add in a little bit of movement, to close your eyes here. I recommend you do that and stay with your own breath. If the tempo is different for you, and that's completely fine. This is your practice. Honor how you feel today. So a couple more breaths here. Wonderful. I know that feels great for me, just to clean out some of that stale air and get a couple good breaths in here and just really focus on the alignment of my spine. I hope that was helpful for you. All right, so the first thing that I wanted to get in today, after we have discussed some posture points, is just to take that down to the floor. We can still really think about that open chest with the shoulder blades down and together behind the back, and really connecting to our breath here with every movement. Again, if you aren't doing anything, still breathing is so important for just, reconnecting with yourself, with the present moment, getting out of your head, and just refocusing on what is in the here and now and what is important. All right. So first thing, I like to do a lot of these movements as much as I can first thing in the morning, just to kind of shake off the night, get my muscles rejuvenated, again, connect some breathing with some gentle movement. So we'll sit here. This is easy pose. For some of us who do have some pain in the back, maybe it is not so easy. And for that, I would suggest that we place something like a blanket, a pillow, a towel, whatever you have, a stuffed animal you found somewhere, under the hips, just to raise them up. And a lot of times in doing so, will make it a lot easier to find this straight line with the back to do that, because sometimes it can be a little strenuous sitting flat on the floor, and finding that integrity in the spine and lifting the hips can help with that. All right, and as well, I'm just doing crisscross applesauce here. Either leg, whatever feels most comfortable to you, can flip that around. Could do half lotus. Could just tuck one foot into the groin and one foot in front of the other. It is really your call. Whatever feels good to you, that is completely fine here. All right. So we'll just take a deep breath. So I'm going to start with just some gentle neck rolls. So we'll just take the chin down to the chest and do just a half circle, gently back and forth. Then we can bring the head back. Now I definitely want you to be very mindful and careful when you raise the head back. It can get a little crunchy in that area. We definitely don't want to force anything. And so we can take those rolls and just do a complete gentle revolution, one direction, a few times. Remembering to breathe here. Then we can switch directions. Excuse my rambunctious kitty cat if you hear that in the background. Now, if at any time you feel that it feels good to stop in one place, like for instance, bringing one ear to one shoulder, really stretching the outside of the neck, feel free to do that. And we want to even that out by doing that on the other side. Right. So now back to center. Let's go ahead and really bring home what it means to connect movement to breath. So we're going to do some arm raises over the head with our inhales and then lower the arms with our exhales. And when we inhale, we turn the palms up to the ceiling. We gently bring the hands together. Again, we're thinking shoulder blades back. Heart is really open here. We even maybe want to think about starting with the arms just slightly behind us. So let's go ahead and start. We'll do inhale. And exhale. Do this again. And a final time. Very nice. Now we're going to do a seated twist. So we are going to think tall spine when we inhale. After that, when we are actually in the movement of the twist is when we will exhale, and we are turning to look over our shoulder as far as we can without getting so far that we're feeling any kind of pinching, anything that feels really uncomfortable. We definitely don't want to go there. So we get started here by placing our arm on the opposite knee, and then we bring the other arm behind our back, kind of in line with our sits bones when we get into the movement. So let's breathe in, straighten up. With our exhale, we turn. Let's take in another inhale, straighten back up. And exhale, turn deeper into the twist. That feels good. Feel free to do it a few more times, but we will even it out on the other side. So we inhale and we twist. Okay. So now we will do one of my favorite things, which is to do some rotations sitting here, and then I will add in a little bit of cat-cow movement where we press the chest forward when we are moving in the forward direction, and then we kind of collapse it into a C position when we go back, really pressing the spine back behind us. So first, let's start just with rotating around in a circle. Now, while we do this, we want to think about keeping our seat planted into the floor. We don't want to be rocking all around while we do this movement. We want to try to be as grounded and still in our base as possible and let this movement come from the low waist. So we'll just revolve behind us and in front, and then we can switch directions. And now we'll add in that more accentuated movement. We press the chest forward, and then we dip in the back, push it forward, and then we really tuck in as we come back. Let's switch our direction again. Remembering to breathe with this, perhaps inhaling forward, exhaling back. Wonderful. Now we're going to come to all fours and we will do a traditional cat-cow movement. Now again, if there is pain in the knees or you are not on a mat, on a carpet, feel free to pad the knees with a blanket, towel, anything soft that you have on hand to make this more comfortable for you. Now, similar to Tadasana, being on all fours seems like a pretty straightforward situation, but if you get into all the micro movements, there really is a lot to it. And you will notice if you are focusing on all those things, it is not always the easiest posture to be in. So in our all fours position, we want to think straight line from the shoulder all the way down to the hand. Same thing from the hip to the knee. We want a nice, stable, even spine here. Straight line from the crown to the tail. And the hands, and in any position where we are placing weight on our hands, we definitely don't want to think flat, pancake hands on the ground. We really want to have some active engagement in these hands as if we are almost kind of clawing at the floor. We want the knuckles to be pressed into the ground, especially the thumb and the index finger knuckles, and that protects the wrist. Okay, so with cat-cow, we inhale and we bring the chest forward. We lift up the hips toward the ceiling. And then when we exhale, we are tucking the hips, bringing the head down. We are lifting the back up to the ceiling as far as we can, really pressing into the ground. And then we inhale. Okay, so now that we've done that and we've stretched our spine a bit, I want to introduce you to puppy posture because this is really going to help open up the back, counteract that position that we are assuming when we are at a desk, hunched over, watching TV. This will really help to counteract that, open up the chest. I love it. So it starts from this tabletop position. I'm going to back up a little bit because I do need my hands to go forward. So first thing is we want to tuck our toes under. That will help stabilize us when we move forward. So then we are going to walk our hands forward, and they are, just straight ahead, straight line, shoulder width distance apart. And then we are going to just melt our chest backward until our forearms are basically on the ground. We're just going to lower as far as we can, either the forehead or the chin touches the floor, you can look forward, you can look down. And we're going to breathe deeply and really open up that back with the breath. And when we are done, we'll just walk our hands back and rest. So now that we've gotten in a little bit of movement, a little bit of stretching for the upper back, let's take care of the often neglected low back area, which is pretty hard to find a good stretch for anyway. And so I often find that I feel the best low back stretch when I'm actually doing a position where you would think it's more of a leg stretch. So I'm going to take you through head to knee pose. So traditional head to knee pose, seated head to knee pose, you would take one leg, let's start left side, or just remember which side you did first and switch to the other afterward. But the foot is flexed, and if you are tight here in the hamstrings, don't expect to be able to straighten your leg completely, just wherever is comfortable enough without feeling any kind of severe pinching or pulling here. We definitely don't want that. What is most important in this sort of spinal bend, this reaching, is the integrity and the straightness of your spine. So you don't want to be reaching forward and just hunching down in order to try to reach farther. You want to only go as far as you can and still be able to maintain that open chest, because that's as far as we want to go before we actually reach into this bend. So now I'll introduce you to head to knee in the traditional straight direction, but the stretch that I find to be most effective is actually revolved head to knee, and I will get into that momentarily after we kind of touch on this. So one leg we have is straightened, it is flexed, the other is bent into the groin as far as is comfortable with this foot. Again, be mindful of the knee. If you are feeling pain here, just you don't need to do any kind of extreme bends, whatever's most comfortable for you. And then we think straight spine. We inhale with that, and then we are going to think kind of up and over as if there were something that we were trying to avoid on our leg, and that idea will help to lead with our chest and get us farther forward in this bend. So now in the full expression, we do bring our elbows to the floor and the head to the knee as the pose suggests, but again, honor where you are today and just go as far as you need to feel that stretch without straining your tendons or ligaments. Then we slowly bring ourselves back up and we will switch legs, whatever side you did not do before. Same thing, we will inhale, tall straight spine, up and over as we reach for our foot, and we lower head to knee. Then we breathe into that stretch. I don't know if you are like me, but I definitely, especially on my left side, feel this stretch in my low back, in my hips. and raise. So revolved head to knee is a similar idea, but we will actually start with our legs open. And again, this is going to be different for all of us, how far you can comfortably spread the legs. And with this, to protect our knees, our tendons, ligaments, we do want to flex the feet. So not pointed, but flex back toward us. Keep a nice active foot. And to move yourself more forward, to open the legs more, you could push the hips forward a bit. We want to think that the thighs are rotated up toward the ceiling. We want to think feet are not pointed inward, but rotated as far out as we can get them. And so, in this direction, we can lower straight to one side. So, revolving our upper body, facing one leg. We'll start with the right side here, or maybe it looks to be the left side for you, whatever works. Then we will again think up and over as we lower. I'm not going to stay there long because where I really feel the stretch here is actually by lowering down with the arm on the inside of the leg, and the chest is actually rotating. That's where we get this revolved from. So the chest rotates instead of down, we are rotating it upward toward the sky as we lower toward the leg. And then we can include our arm in this. Now there are extreme versions of this pose where the chest is facing up with the arm wrapped over the head and touching the foot, but this is more advanced posture. And so what I like to do is actually add some movement into my arm, and I will move it in different ways until I find where my body, where this low back on the back of the hip here really feels the most stretch. And when I kind of find that area, that's where I will stay and where I will hold the pose and breathe into it. And that can be different for you. It could be different from day to day, and it could be different from side to side. My left side always feels like it needs it more than my right, but it feels great on both sides. So let's come to the opposite side now that you are working with. So we think arm is lowered, opposite is lifted as we lift the chest toward the sky. We breathe, we reach, we find that happy place where we really feel the most stretch in that low back. We hold that for a few breaths. That is definitely something that I encourage you to give a try. If not every day, then as often as possible, especially if you are feeling particularly tight or sore in the low back. There is no other stretch that I can think of that I have experienced that really feels like it gets into that area more. Now I'd like to take you through a breathing exercise called Breath of Fire. Now, this really can light your fire. It will wake you up, add some fresh oxygen to your body. Definitely something that I encourage if you are feeling that midday slump, or if it's the morning and you really just need to energize. This is a great practice for you to add in. We'll go for about a 30-second interval. I don't know if I will be specifically counting, but you can just follow along with me. So Breath of Fire is a belly breathing practice where we are really engaging in these tummy muscles to compress our diaphragm, to really push the air out. It is a very active exhale, like a panting motion, where it is so active in the exhale that the inhale becomes passive. It just comes into the body because of the force that our muscles are making to force out the exhale. And so I will demonstrate for you. First, I will take a big deep breath, and then I will begin. I, by the way, am sitting here in Hero's Pose. You could sit cross-legged or any way that you feel comfortable where you still have a straight spine. And in positions like Hero's Pose, a lot of people could have some knee pain. Really helps to cushion something between the knees and the glutes. Like again, our wonderful towels, blankets, pillows, they really come in handy with our yoga practice. So I would encourage you to always have some on hand, or a yoga block, also a wonderful prop to have. Okay, so to demo, I will take in a deep breath and then show you what this is all about. So maybe that seemed a little awkward for you. That is all right. You can do it. Nobody needs to watch you. But again, no need to feel self-conscious. This is for your self-care, and that is what matters. So you could close your eyes as I did. Maybe that made it feel a little less awkward. You can place your hands on your belly to really feel that contraction, compression in your tummy to engage in this movement. So now, if you will join me, we will take a deep breath and then we will begin. And again, about 30-second intervals is a good place to start with that. Seems like tapioca is a little disturbed by this. Do you not like this sound of panting? And something that I did not mention, we can open the mouth here, but traditionally this is a closed mouth practice, so it's actually the nose where the exhale is coming from. So let's go ahead and do this one more time. And again, do this at your own leisure. Try it, several times before you write it off. And definitely, if you are feeling an energy slump, see if this gives you a little bit of a boost in your day. So let's begin. Thank you for giving that a try. So I'm going to finish up today with a really fun movement that I came across from one of my very favorite yogis, Adrienne Mishler. Her incredible YouTube channel is Yoga with Adrienne. I definitely recommend that you check her out. I do not know if this actually has an official name, but she calls it knocking on heaven's door. So let's go with that because I think it's funny. This might seem a little awkward if you were doing it in front of other people, but I recommend that you give it a try, even if you're not alone. Maybe it'll give you guys a good laugh. I'm going to do it here in front of you, so there's at least that. And I'm also going to step forward because if you will notice once we start moving, I don't want to ram my hand into the window. So we'll start here. You could have Tadasana feet, but I would recommend maybe just a little bit wider of a stance because we are going to get into some movement here. So just some free, playful movement. What we are going to end up doing is rotating our body and just letting our arms be completely limp and just kind of flopping around with us from side to side. So we want kind of a wide base. We want very gentle, fluid knees, definitely no locking out. We want to be able to kind of sway and just move very lightly. And then I definitely would recommend that you do not close your eyes because you will probably get pretty dizzy trying to do this. So what the goal is here is we are just moving as far back to far behind us as we can to one side. We are just going to look over our shoulders as far as we can, and then we will just rotate back and forth that way. And we'll just start out doing this kind of slow. Again, our arms are just lifeless and limp, just hanging at our sides. And I don't know if you notice why this is called knocking on heaven's door, but I bet you could get it in a couple guesses. So we'll just keep going at this pace, and then we can just gradually increase the speed here, and eventually we'll just get going super fast, maybe get a little dizzy. But again, keep those knees a little bit bent here. Keep those eyes open. Let's keep our breath going. Big deep breaths. Let's speed up a little more. We're just going full tilt as fast as we can. And then we can just start to slow it down until eventually we can come to a gentle stop. Now, I don't know about you, but that definitely gave me a little bit more energy, maybe a little bit dizzy, but it's going to wear off fast. So something kind of fun just to pick you up, engage your sense of humor throughout the day. You can do it anywhere as long as you have room for those arms to move and maybe privacy, but honestly, who cares what you do? It's self-care. That's what's important. Thank you for joining me in that exercise. I hope it was fun for you. So there it is, just a few short, sweet suggestions for giving you a boost of energy, for shaking off the rest of the evening or the day, just to bring you back into yourself and correct for that posture that we so often fall into with our daily lives. I hope you found it helpful. If you did, please like, subscribe, share it with someone you think could use it. And I would love it if you have suggestions for other videos, ideas for other situations that I could cover. Please feel free to comment below. I would love to hear from you. Thank you to my co-stars, my wonderful, rambunctious kitty cats. I hope you have a wonderful day, and until I see you again, namaste.